Hello, I'm Troy Crawford, a claims attorney with Lawyers Mutual. Today we're here to talk about wiring instruction fraud, and particularly a series of scams that have rocked North Carolina attorneys over the last few months. Several months ago, the situation became so severe we felt the need to produce this alert. Today we have three goals in this video. The first is to go over this alert in a little bit more detail to kind of discuss the common schemes that we've been seeing over the last few weeks. Additionally, to list some best practices that your office can implement to avoid falling victim. And then finally, and hopefully unnecessarily, tell you what to do should your office become a victim of this scam. Now, the alert that was issued goes into detail about this scheme. Specifically, what we're seeing is that sellers' closing proceeds are being diverted. In a typical real estate transaction, the closing attorney will receive all funds in from the buyer, the earnest money deposit, and usually a lender. Will hold the funds in the trust account, and then at closing will pay off any existing liens or mortgages. We'll pay realtors' commissions, insurance premiums, things of that nature, and whatever is left over will go to the seller in the form of a proceeds check. What is happening is rather than a check being issued, because of the modern economy and closings that are happening shortly thereafter, a lot of seller proceeds are being wired. And what is happening is that realtors, sellers, and attorneys' real estate accounts are being hacked. The seller's proceeds are being diverted. Specifically, they're being diverted through fraudulent wiring instructions that are usually being emailed. The attorney will receive an email with a fraudulent PDF or other file, will open it, and will use those instructions and send the money to an account that is not affiliated with the seller in any way. The recipient account will frequently be in the name of a reputable person or a local business that has a very good reputation. It will be transmitted to that account. It'll be held for a very short period of time, and then the hacker will access this and send it overseas. These intermediary accounts are usually hacked themselves. The recipient or the owner of the account has no idea their account has been compromised, and the funds are just transmitted before they have any idea to the contrary. What we're seeing in these accounts that are being hacked is they're being monitored for months on end. The sellers are scanning emails, just looking to see what's happening. And a lot of times it's a realtor's account that is being hacked. And so they'll know that eventually there's going to be a seller that's going to get a substantial amount of cash following closing. And the hackers will just wait until they get the details of that particular closing and wait to strike. Additionally, today we're going to talk about some of the best practices to avoid falling victim. The most important thing you can do is verify absolutely every wire request. It needs to be verified, preferably in person. In the real estate transaction, the seller usually will come to your office, and at the closing ceremony, have the seller sign the wiring instructions that you're going to use. That is the best way to prevent fraud. We know of no situation in which that fraud has occurred, and even if it did, you'd probably be free from liability because the seller was at fault in not knowing where to receive their funds. Now, frequently when we suggest that, we'll hear that not all sellers come to closing, and that is accurate. And in that situation, if the seller isn't present, you can't have them sign. However, what we would strongly suggest is have the wiring instructions come with other closing documents. Have them come with the deed that is being transmitted to your office, with the wiring instructions, the seller's package that usually comes to your office. Again, we know of no instance in which wiring instructions have come with other documents where they've been compromised. But even so, those wiring instructions should be verified. Now, when you verify wiring instructions, don't use information that comes with the wiring instructions to complete the verification. Do not use the email signature that they came with. Look through the file and look and see how your original contact with the seller was obtained, and use that information. Hopefully that is information you used elsewhere or used before. If the seller has an attorney and this attorney is sending the wires, call the attorney directly and verify. Whatever, again, it is very important that you not use information that the wire came with to verify the wire. Secondly, do not accept changes to wiring instructions, period. Just have a firm policy, put it in your engagement letter, let the seller or any other party in the transaction know that's getting a wire. They get one bite at the apple, that it will be verified, preferably in person. And if they decide to change their wiring instructions, it is an indicia of fraud and you're going to issue a check, period. Make no exceptions and you'll be safe. You may receive some pushback on this, however, it is the safest method. Additionally, if you are receiving two contrary sets of wiring instructions, you know there's a hacker out there. You need to take extra precaution because you are being targeted. Be very suspicious of wiring instructions that are attached in emails coming from free email services such as Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, things of that nature. Those accounts are targeted much more frequently, and there's several reasons why you need to be very suspicious. First of all, those accounts allow for creation of alias accounts. We've frequently seen several recently in which the sender has been using a Gmail account, and at the last moment, wiring instructions are coming from a mail.com rather than a gmail.com account. Additionally, the swapping of letters, the dropping of specific letters makes it very easy to use an alias account. However, not all wiring instructions that are fraudulent are coming from alias accounts. We're taken under the premise that an account has been compromised, and so if the hacker has control of that account, there's no reason they absolutely have to use an alias account. They may just send it. And again, not all situations have come from these free mail accounts. We do know of a situation, for instance, in which a seller itself, which was a large corporation, their email system had been compromised, and fraudulent accounts came from a legitimate email account from that corporation. The attorney did not verify, and as such, a fraudulent wire went out and money was lost. Now, sometimes we'll have attorneys say, well, we should just go back to faxing. I'm not going to accept email wiring instructions. I'm only going to accept fax wiring instructions. There's a caller ID printed at the top, and that's safe. Unfortunately, it is not safe. Fax wiring instructions are not immune from fraud. There's a process, you can look it up on the internet, talking about caller ID spoofing, in which you can put any ID at the top of the page, any number that you want to. There are services that will do it for free over the internet as practical jokes. Also, there's obviously a malicious reason to do that. Fax wiring instructions are no better than an email attachment. They need to be verified in person. Additionally, attorneys should not be using free email accounts. It is not professional. It very much likely violates the rules of professional conduct, specifically Rule 1.6, which requires that that client information be kept confidential, and there is no way it's in compliance with the Ulta best practices and the security protocols. An additional way to avoid such claim is look at the wiring instructions in detail and see who the recipient is and where the wire is being transmitted. Why is a North Carolina seller that is relocating to New York asking his closing proceeds be sent to Wyoming or to California? Why is it being sent to someone else's account, not in their name? There may be a legitimate reason for this. However, that is a huge red flag and should be investigated further. Do not send wires overseas. Once money is transmitted overseas, the funds are not coming back. They are gone. There is no way to stop the fraud at that point in time. People that are selling property in the United States should have access to United States banks. If not, they should be able to accept a check. Regularly change your passwords. There are plenty of videos on the web about selecting proper passwords, how frequently you should change them. We're not going to go into more detail. However, leaving your email account under the same password is not a safe practice. Lastly, and this is my personal note here, charge to send the wires. There's a lot of hassle involved with verifying. There's also some additional expense and time. And as such, you should be compensated for doing so. Charging will allow you to justify the additional procedures you must implement, and it also will hopefully change the morale of people checking the wires. Lastly, today we're going to talk about what to do if your account is compromised or if you are a victim to fraud. Generally, when you go to seminars, you'll hear your malpractice carrier say the first thing you should do is contact the malpractice carrier. This is the lone exception, and if you do fall victim, the first thing you should do is call your bank immediately. While you're calling your bank, hopefully someone else in your office is calling the receiving bank and telling them of the fraud and asking them to put a hold on the account. We have seen several situations in which attorneys have been able to freeze accounts and money has been able to be returned. There's no guarantee it will happen. However, it has been successful in the past. Now, after you have called the bank, after you called your bank, and after you've called the receiving bank, you should call your malpractice carrier, and you should also call local law enforcement. Now, additionally, we would encourage you to report this to the FBI, also the local, your state's SBI. We have seen some success with local law enforcement getting involved. And not that they are been able to trace people down overseas, but what we have been able to see is that they have been able to call the banks, and just by saying it's the local sheriff or the police department, the bank personnel respond in a more expedient manner than if the attorney themselves call alone. Lastly, we just encourage you to contact us if you have any questions. Our contact information is on the screen. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and connect with us on LinkedIn. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up.